Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Conscious Marketer Podcast. I'm Richard, one of your hosts, and I'm also joined by Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hello.
And we're going to talk today about graduating your avatar or how you can serve higher level people in your field. And I think that there's this danger spot where you can get sucked into maybe just serving people who maybe aren't as committed to their own transformation. And at some point in your business, you might say to yourself, I'm really good at what I want to do. How do I attract higher level people that I can serve? And how can I create a deeper transformative experiences for people? And when you start to go that direction, things get really interesting. I know, Kylie, you've launched your own programs and a lot of other people's programs. I'm kind of curious. We were talking right before we got on about the difficulty level of, serving a higher level market versus, maybe selling lower end products. I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts on that are.
Absolutely. Well, I do think it is harder to serve people who aren't ready. And, when you said higher level client and then you said people who aren't ready. And I think sometimes people hear higher level and they're like, oh, good or bad. It's not that. It's readiness. It's willingness. It's, grit. I think too, sometimes how much grit does somebody have? And I have sold my own programs and had people haggling me for their $997 back because it didn't meet their expectations, even though everything was on the sales page, And so sometimes there's that. But I think one of the biggest things that attracts that person who's going to complain, want refunds, give you a hard time, demand the most of your time, things of that nature. And the person who's going to come in, pay more money, not need as much, not ask for as much, get the results. It has to do primarily with your message and who are you being and how are you being? When I first started out, who I was being and how I was being is so much different than that now, that I think that I naturally attract a different type of person and so then I get to bring that to the company as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And as you step up, what happens is, a lot of times the people who are ready to go deeper or to, a lot of our clients, they come and they want to reach millions of people to change their lives through some vision, create positive impact, like big visions, like even like hundreds of millions of people. So they're holding higher level visions too. And if you approach that person with an offer that doesn't really help them get anywhere near their higher level vision, they're just going to kind of ignore you too. So part of it is your own vision, your own identity has to expand in order to kind of like rub up against the other people's visions and touch it, because then they can say, oh, this person has a really big vision for what they want to do in the world and who they're becoming. That's kind of like me. I have this huge vision too, and I need somebody that can hold along this vision with me. And there's like this resonance that you start to develop where somebody's like, oh, you're like me. I want to go do this in the world. And then there's this trust that happens. And then it opens. And then from there, it's like, that's kind of like the starting point, I think, for the relationship where somebody that wants to do big stuff starts to look at you as a partner.
I love that. It kind of reminds me of what my friend Jeffrey talks about with transactional versus transformational benefits. And we need both, right? In our marketing and in our programs, we need both. But if people are looking just for transactional, then they may not be linked in with your bigger vision, your transformational vision. And this is where really marketing a movement comes in and everything like that. And so our movement, there's a lot of things, but one thing that the company really and the agency really stands for is helping people to have marketing that actually changes the world and changes people's lives, even if they don't buy from us. So if I write an ad, I have to keep in mind, am I changing somebody's life with this ad or giving them a better day or giving them an insight or giving them something that's going to open their heart, even if they never buy, even if they never click. And that's really where you start to build a movement. And that is, since we are speaking into graduating your avatar, that is where you really do start to attract people that are resonating with your deeper message and not just your, make $100,000 in 5 minutes, which is, the transactional benefits, but they're really more excited about that transformation that you're offering.
Yeah. And what I think what's kind of interesting too is you have to give yourself permission to go for the bigger vision, even if you don't know, even if you have no idea how it's going to happen. And when you do that, you move away from what you were just saying there, Kylie. You move away from the transactional, like, hey, I need to add 4 more clients, and you're more like, hey, I want to create a global brand that, helps this charity overcome this issue or whatever. Or, yeah, I think I'm ready for that beach house somewhere here on the coast, that has 7 bedrooms or whatever the thing is that you want. But I think you give yourself permission to like, okay, I'm kind of, I don't want to play small anymore. And I think that, I'm ready to do this bigger thing and go for it, even if I don't know how. And then also, even if I don't head it, I have to go for it anyway. And then, I think it's interesting because we work with a lot of higher level people, and I'm always trying to extract out of them, what's the thing you'd really like to do, but you're like almost like a little embarrassed because it just seems so like, it seems so big and seems so unattainable. But that thing that like at some point your higher self or your soul is like, you could probably do that if you really went for it. And so the answers that come out after that question they're really quite fun because immediately when you start to think about whatever that thing is, and it's not always there, but a lot of times it is, then there's all this energy. It's like, oh, wow. Like you don't think I'm crazy. Like you do think it's possible. Like you could help me with that. And then because most people have never shared whatever that thing is with somebody else. And then if they have, normally it's a bad thing because the people around them are just like, you're just a nut job, like you're crazy. And so most people have never had a mentor or somebody in their life to actually like go, okay, like that's interesting. Let's figure out how we can do that. And the first thing out of their mouth isn't like, oh, that's not possible. Like the first thing out of their mouth is like, wow, like what are we going to do to help you to get that? Like, what's the first step? Or tell me more about that. What would that feel like if you achieve that? Or who do we need to talk to make that happen? Those are better questions than no, that's impossible. So yeah. So your self permission as you expand, then this other energy comes in, and then you can help other people access that. And so this is all about upgrading your avatar. It's kind of like maybe Kylie, we can talk a little bit about. Sometimes we talk about how we graduate our avatar. Do you want to share a little bit more about that concept?
In terms of like ascending?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we have a sort of foundational level program called the Conscious Launch Accelerator. It's not basic because it's advanced, but it's the most basic program that we offer. And it's the A to Z of getting your program off the ground. If you've never gotten your program off the ground, you can do it. And if you've gotten it off the ground before, you can double, triple, quadruple, hopefully even, 10x it. And we've had a lot of great results with it. And then we started a mastermind. Well, Richard started it and I just kind of jumped on the coattails. One day we just had a mastermind and I was like, oh, cool. So that happened, but it's a higher level program. It's a much higher investment. And in a sense, it brings in the same type of person, but they're at a different level in their business. They're at a different level of commitment. They're in a different level of dedication. They're at a different level financially, most of them. And they're ready to not just upgrade their launches, but to upgrade their life, to upgrade every aspect of their marketing, to create community over clients. And they're ready to just really go for it and they want that support. So one of the things I noticed when I was looking at the names, the list of everybody who'd bought the accelerator and then who we had in the mastermind, was that I didn't think that the accelerator people would ascend, because this is a $1,500 program versus a, $16,000 to $20,000 program. And I was like, oh, no one's gonna, it's too big of a jump. But when I was looking at the names, like 25% of the people came from that program, and I just couldn't believe it. And I think that one of the ways that you get there is by providing that value and helping people to get results, but not just get results, but to feel that this is where they want to be going in their business. This is where they want to be going in their life. And they trust you. They know whatever's next is going to be trustworthy. There's going to be value and they're going to get the results that they're looking for. Not just the results though, but like build their movement. This is one of the things we talk to everyone about on some of the calls was, what's the movement that you're here to create? Because if there's not a movement, then we can't really help you. And the movement doesn't have to be like, my mission has always been to help like millions and millions of people. But we have people that are intimidated by that. And they think, what if I just want to help 100 people? And that's awesome. And Richard always says those 100 people are going to help 100 people and it's going to hit 1 million with or without you. And then we have someone in the group whose mission is to revolutionize the way that China thinks about trauma. That's a big deal, to even be able to even consider that as like, whoa. So we have everything in between. But I think that I've always said that your avatar is the same. You grow and your avatar grows. Your avatar is always the same, but they're always at different levels of development. So as you grow and you offer higher level things, they grow and they come with you. And that's kind of what happened with us. And for us, we offered this program. We saw people getting results. We wanted to help take them to another level. And I was surprised. I was like, okay, these people are ascending. And then it gave me the inspiration to continue to fill that lower end program. It's not low end, but as far as pricing it is, and to keep nurturing people there and helping people there and supporting people there so that they could grow enough to go to that next level with us. Because it's always the most inspiring thing to work with people who are like sprinting, they're like ready to do the thing.
Yeah, well, they've kind of gotten out of like, this is something I want to do on the side or as a hobby. And they're like, okay, this is the way I can really change people's lives and change my own lives. And so, yeah, I think it's amazing if you build an online business that can help people to kind of take natural steps and then expand, their own business, their own life. I mean, that actually shows that you're really ethical and that you're helping, the stuff that you do works actually is that people take your programs and then they grow their business and they're, okay, well, what's the next? What's next? What's next?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question for somebody that's just worked with you to ask. And so, yeah, so that accelerator, it's kind of like the minor leagues or the training ground for, the 7-figure business or whatever. And then I think it's also interesting too, because as you do, you can serve at just the higher level. I don't say what's good or bad. You can just serve higher level people too and make an impact that way. I like kind of the 2-step model where you create kind of a training ground where people can build the 6 and 7-figure models. And then also, when you have that higher end offer that attracts, maybe more committed people or people whose businesses they've been around and they've developed and they've studied and they've implemented stuff already. The nice thing about that too is there's people on your list who really don't want the other offer because they don't need the training ground anymore. They need the next thing. And so over half of the people in our higher end group came in because they were just waiting. They were ready for the bigger offer. They didn't need the other one. And so that's exciting too. As you build out, I would say one of the common questions that people have is like, always serving this group, right? And now I want to launch this next thing. And I don't know where those people are going to come from. And often the answer is, well, don't worry about that. Just launch. And some of those people are already on your list, and they just haven't worked with you because you haven't had the right offer. You haven't had a big enough offer for them,
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is I'd say the second thing is some of the people, hopefully, if you've done your job right, you've helped grow and then they're like ready. And then the third thing is the universe is like, we have all these other people in the field that you're going to meet in a coffee shop or, through an affiliate promotion or on your Facebook friend field that you've never met that really want to work with you too. And they'll come to you in interesting and extraordinary ways because that's kind of how the universe works. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think just in conclusion, I think it's about your personal growth. And I know I mentioned that before, but I want to just ask you to consider, what are you doing to grow? I hate being cold more than anything in this world. And I sat in ice this week
You look happy when you did it too. I was surprised.
Or it was for the picture.
You might have been in shock. Yeah, you look good in the picture. So
I was smiling for the picture. No, I was like uncontrollably shaking. But that's the kind of thing that I'm always wanting to grow, because if I continue to grow in that way, then I'm going to continue to support my clients in a bigger way, and I'm going to be able to grow Conscious Marketer in a bigger way. And so it's not just what are you doing in your business, it's who are you becoming in your life. I do the Stairmaster multiple times a week, and I hate it. I hate the Stairmaster. It makes me feel sick. But also when I finish, I'm like, I just did something that was really hard for me. And that means that I have more value to bring to the people who are looking to me to bring value to them. And so it's not just what are you doing in business, it's what are you doing in your life? Who are you becoming? All of those things. And I'm always trying to bring that lesson to people that I work with and that work with me. And hopefully there's something in there that you can do that makes you really uncomfortable so that you can ascend your clients because they're trying to kind of keep up with your growth.
That's so good. That's so good. Well, this has been a really great conversation, and thanks everybody for joining us here on the Conscious Marketer podcast. And like always, if you want the show notes, you can go to consciousmarketer.com/podcast. And if you're on iTunes or Spotify or one of the other platforms, Amazon, give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. We put this material out to help you grow your business. And someday we want you to work with us. And if you don't, and you get something out of this podcast, that's great too. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.